over there on Collider. And so I had some server issues here. Clearly, I need to use Marc Fernandez's studio because mine's not working. But I'm here. Jody, thank you for letting us use Jody's server to solve this problem.
We back. Shout out to that internet service. And yeah, hopefully we both get on this grind together so we can have better equipment.
Yes, become members of these channels because guys, this is what happens. I gotta get a better system, but I'll figure it out. I'm gonna troubleshoot. I got some friends who know PCs better than I.
You took it off private because I see it private.
We're live now. Should be live.
We're good. All right, for sure.
Yeah, see us. Hello, everybody. We should be there. Hello, everybody. Should be watching us live. Welcome to the show. We are live. There it goes. Bang. Thank you. Sorry. There we are live. Sorry about that. So we're in Jody's server. My system, something crashed, and Jody took my stream key so we can go live there. We wanted to talk about this Collider thing because doing this tomorrow night or something felt stupid because I want to top mind react to his reactions. So to sum up what happened, let's go back, Jody. Let's tell him what happened. Marc Fernandez canceled a lot of Collider programming, a lot of popular stuff. Collider Live. Heroes, stuff people watched, Jedi Council, stuff people watched religiously, but let's be honest, the views weren't doing great. So it was a business decision. They took him out. But where things went wrong was he didn't give any of his staff sort of notice, the people behind that. They threw a Christmas party last December, and then sort of everyone thought, woo, good stuff. And then come January, they just sort of said, nope, your jobs are gone. Again, it's a business decision. It's tough. But what was frustrating was just sort of the timing, the lack of respect to the fans. And then there was Collider's seemingly number 2, this guy named Jack Hind, went on Twitter bashing sort of the fans and the talent, sort of saying, we're on to bigger and better things. Sorry you guys couldn't get views. But it was a very cocky thing that really upset a lot of people. Jody, any other things sort of to add compared to just to recap where we stand?
You pretty much got it on the hill. Let's move forward with this video content and this discussion, bro.
So this is where we are now. So Marc Fernandez, because of this backlash, it was getting pretty intense. He decided to do a town hall live on Collider addressing his fans. And so, Jody, you got it queued up, I think. Sorry, I don't have my controls. Jody's leading this stream because we're on his platform. But Marc went on live and did this stream sort of reacting to fans. And before we play it, Jody, overall thoughts. I mean, this to me, the biggest thing, we've talked about this and you've both said this, he never looks at camera. Not for once did he look his audience in the eyes. And it was a huge mistake on his part, I think, because it just seemed disingenuous. It seemed like he didn't really care. It seemed like he was reading this the whole time. And then the whole hour and a half, hour something stream, he never looked up. It was a very odd thing. Jody, thoughts? I mean, what was your overall takeaway when it started?
He's an entrepreneur talking about the business side of things. And at the end of the day, he couldn't make eye contact with his viewership. That lets me know off top that a red flag is going off in the direction of he's being disingenuous, like you said. I didn't personally like the fact that the camera was off angle like that and he's looking at his laptop, reading from what appears to be notes, and just having this stoic face while he's delivering this speech of names that he's reading off, and he's not really speaking from the heart, in my opinion. He didn't really keep it 100% real, because at the end of the day, it was like an hour and a half video. And never have I probably seen a man speak so much and say so little. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
I felt like he was reading a list, like an award show of an award he lost, is sort of how I quantified it before. Because he became a bunch of names, and I don't want to thank them. And the other thing he did so often is he was definitely doling out credit to people. He was saying, this idea came from John Campea, and he wanted to be the ESPN of movies, and that was a goal we wanted to do at Screen Junkies too. So Campea had similar ideas, and he did. No shade at Campea. I think they did a great job involving sort of the movie talk format, which we never did as much until later. We ended up ripping it off too. But then Christian came on and he said we wanted to be the Howard Stern of movies, and so he sort of gave a lot of credit to his talent and cast. And then he just kept going and going and going, explaining how much he liked it. And while I appreciated that, and it was nice, it didn't feel like the time. It felt like he sort of was forced to do it because the fans called him out. And I think if he had done that when they announced it, it would have been so much better for him.
If you look at the videos that he had, what is the one that he's going with Mance for your consideration? Is that right? Yep. And Perry, the fans were going to that video. They downvoted the shit out of it. And I think that's what let Marc know, like, all right, I have to do something about this because they're not going to let my brand grow from this point. He had to address this shit because the fans, the Collider fans and the viewers were upset with the way it ended. And you're right about the way it ended. He should have did it a better job. But they came to them videos, they thumbs down, they had the bad comments, the negative publicity. There is no way that this dude Mark could have moved on with whatever he has planned for Collider with that bad baggage of all them people who want to see Collider fail. That's why he did this town press meeting thing.
Yeah.
Jigamabob.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, so I'm looking through my notes because it's the one thing to like, look, I'm looking at my computer right now and I'm looking at my notes, I'm watching the chats and it's odd, but then there's certain points where I want to look up to you guys and sort of acknowledge, like, I'm being sincere right now. I'm talking to you. I understand you're there. You're looking at my
business 101. He should have learned that.
Yeah, and it's like you've been hosts. Like you can't just bullshit. Guys, I'm really sorry, and look, I'm really sorry, and I can't believe it. And look, Christian's really great, and John's really. It's like he didn't even know the camera was on. There's a light. It's like, of course we know, and we want to be sincere. Look up, you got to do it. And so it was very weird off the top. And then the thing I noticed that really bothered me. The first half was really rough. We can start playing if you want, but the first half was really rough. And then there was this really tough breakdown where he just started bawling in the middle of the speech. And at first I was sort of like, what? It's like, there's a lot of serious stuff in the world. Australia's on fire. Puerto Rico's now got another earthquake, losing people living in the streets and no power. And we just nuke, their missiles are attacking it. Like, the arm, it's like there's let's
get a 30-second clip of what's going on here from Collider. Let's just get a 30-second clip of the first 3 minutes of the interview, and then we'll fast forward and we'll go along from there.
He went and cried, and I don't want to get up because I heard something might have bad, so I want to focus at least on the first half before it went off the rails into a weird place. And go ahead, play it because it plays. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Go ahead.
Let's try to have a discussion because my goal out of this.
I can't hear it though if you're playing it.
Is to learn.
Sorry.
Guys,
it's playing.
Invested a lot of time and energy into my channel.
A
lot of time and energy and money.
Great, because I can't hear.
He invested a lot of time and energy into his channel. You're right. He did say "my" a lot.
Contrary to potential belief, I still have and I still value greatly.
He values. He has.
On a personal level, those folks and I know the reality of how we feel.
He's talking about the reality of the situation and how he needs to, what the decision he had to make. He says he doesn't have an exact script right now, so he's all over the place.
He definitely was all over the place.
About the past.
All right, so then they get on that. So that's it. We're gonna stop in the clip there. So he was talking about the past and talking about his script, and then he's gonna start getting into the name. So I guess you want to go ahead and elaborate on how you feel about the beginning of this interview, because at the same time, I feel like this first 30 minutes was real douchey and PC bullshit, dude. For me personally. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, I mean, look, I understand because I ran a company like he did. I had similar employees. It was the same type of thing. Like, he sort of didn't have a plan when he went live, and then it was this weird thing. He was going off in his plan, and it's like, all right, well, I'll listen. But then he sort of pivots because the fans finally some fans started super chatting and saying, whoa, are you going to address Jack Hine? And Jack Hine's the guy who came forward and said all these terrible things and should have gotten reprimanded and apparently did. But when that happened, Mark saw it and finally was like, all right, fine, I'm going to pause. I'm going to address this Jack Hine scenario, and goes on and sort of explains that, yes, what Jack Hine said was immature, was stupid. He shouldn't have said it. Never apologized, but just sort of did throw Jack on the bus by saying, look, you shouldn't have. But, my bigger problem is I need to hear from Jack is really where it's stuck. And so Mark speaking on an apology from somebody, or Jack should have been there. If you're going to do that, like, then own it. And then so not only does he sort of not fully own it, he sort of tells Jack he did something stupid, but then he refused to say, look, from a business perspective, I take that stuff seriously, but I'm not going to reprimand him publicly. I'm going to do that privately. That's what I do. It's none of your business how I reprimand him. And that's really an interesting way to handle it, right? Because it's like, look, I never want someone to just get fired for saying something stupid. I don't think that's what we should be doing. Canceling people is not the way. Like, Jack deserves a second shot. Honestly, I'll say that. I think he does. But he's got to take accountability, and he's got to apologize. And he should have done that first before Mark went on the air. Mark should have said, look, apparently he's going to keep him because he didn't say he's firing him. And if you're going to keep him, we need to see something from Jack that shows remorse. Instead, all we see is a private Twitter and a lot of just he went on the offensive to sort of take down all this stuff and then double down on it. So I understand why the fans are mad at Jack. They should be. What he said was immature. It wasn't professional at all. And he needs to take some humble pie. And Mark admitted this. I don't want to keep tearing the guy down, but The fans.
I'm gonna throw some remorse out there because he was taking that humble pie, bro. Seeing them in that crouched position, like we're seeing him right now, with his head down, looking into notes. He can't even look at the camera. He's in a submissive type of position, and I could see, and I feel for him, man. Because at the end of the day, he's a businessman who is seeing his business crumble to the ground. Regardless of how you feel about his stuff with Collider, regardless of how he chose to push that PC bullshit trendy culture on his channel that made it tank and fall into the ground. At the end of the day, he put his bread, his energy, his money, his funds, his resources, everything into the business that he had, and he's sitting back and he's watching it fall apart before his very eyes. And I can relate to that, and I can sympathize with that. And at the end of the day, I do feel bad for him, but it's at the point where I feel bad for you, but I also understand what got you here, though, bro. You put yourself in this situation, and now I don't see how you're going to be able to get yourself out. Then he finally, in the interview, he said something, and I typed, I said, are you going to say anything that's real? Say anything that's truth. And then like 5 minutes after that, he finally said, I don't want to compete with SEN. You know, they won. I lost. And that was like, all right, now we're getting somewhere. You feel defeated.
Said, yeah.
Right. You feel defeated. You don't want to compete with Campia. You don't want to compete with what Harloff is doing. You want to find your own lane. And I'm like, finally, we're getting somewhere. So it sounds to me like he just wants to tail between the legs a little bit of humble pie, but he's optimistic about doing his own avenue in his own lane. And this was him begging the fans, please let me make this lane for myself. Don't downvote my videos. Don't talk bad about my company. Just give me a second chance to live somewhere else.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it played that way for me too. And I think, look, the other thing that really bugged me was you noticed it, but he just kept saying my channel, my studio. And look, I understand he bought it. It's technically his. But when you have all those people there, even the people doing the deep fakes, everybody, if you're just saying my, nobody wants to work for you. I learned that the hard way. I had a big ego, and I took a lot of credit. And a lot of people called me out for that. And I didn't really realize it because I felt like, well, I did create that concept. Mark's not creating the concepts, but I felt like, oh yeah, well, I made the show. Honest Trailers is my idea. I'm overseeing it since day one. Like, that was my baby, right? I kept sort of saying, but I quickly had to realize it's not my baby. It was a lot of people's babies, and a lot of people came and made that show what it is. And whether it's yours or not, you can just tell a lot about a person, because I learned it by looking in the mirror and seeing what I was doing. If you just keep saying my, you sort of, it's a red flag for me of someone who still has a lot to learn. And you could say, sure, it's a business and he needs to own it, whatever. But I don't know. He spent the whole video complimenting all these people. It was great, but then it just all fell out the window to me every time.
Yeah, it's his.
Down to my studio,
It's his studio. It's his company. It is his. And he let the world know how he feels about the employees. He at-willed them. He got rid of them as a business. He's running it strictly as a business. And we talked about on the last video, he don't see them as family and friends like that. It was business first.
Right? It's business, right? And so, look, he has a right to say it. I'm not saying that. He can say whatever the hell he wants. But I'm saying if you want to build a community, if you want to build a brand, if you want your
oh, yeah, he's definitely screwed. Community, forget about that.
You got to say we. You got to say us.
Definitely.
Today, and it's your studio. I get it, but you're trying to like save face, right? You're doing a PR move.
Yep.
You can't sit there saying my when it's there. You can say it's my fault. And he did at a certain point, blame me, and that's when you can say it. But there were so many drops where he kept saying, look, they can come by my studio anytime. I'd love to have. It just felt like this really big braggadocious sort of thing that just wasn't the place for me.
Feel about it. I could put myself in his position. You're spending tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars into this company overall, and everyone's leaving you. They're leaving left and right. The views are dropping. Harloff goes to SEN, makes a freaking channel, and they all run over there. Campy is over there doing his own thing. You had him as your employee. He left under your tutelage and made himself a boss, doing better than your channel. And all this stuff is going on under your nose. He gotta feel terrible about that, man. And he's letting the world know, yo, I'm still somebody too, and I'm gonna make something happen. So I could empathize where he's coming from.
Think of it this way, Jody, right? Let's say you bought Pepsi, right? You bought it. Yeah. You didn't make it. You didn't create it.
Yeah.
It's not your ingredients. Sure, it's technically yours, but everyone who works for you really just want to walk around and say, oh, it's my Pepsi. I'm Pepsi. I made it. But he didn't. He didn't even make Collider. He bought it from Steve Weintraub Frosty. He brought the brand from there. He brought a video brand from John Campea. So sure, yes, he has the right to say it's his, and it is his. I'm not trying to say it's not, but it's no one bought it because no one subscribes to Marc Fernandez. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They subscribe to Collider, and you got to make Collider. And when you're doing it again, this is a PR lesson, is what I'm trying to say. Look, I don't know the guy. I'm not trying to call him out. I'm just saying from a talking perspective, you don't just say my in that video. It's just off-putting, and it's not something that I when I see that, I don't want to work for him. I don't work for him. I want to work for someone where
that's the point I'm making. They chose to. If I am a lion who eats gazelles, and all of you motherfuckers want to work for me and y'all gazelles, and you know I'm a lion, and then if anything goes down, I'm going to eat you. We can be friends and we can do all this on camera, but when I get hungry and ain't nothing else around to eat, I'm going to eat you. And They say, sure. They signed up for this dude. They signed up for this man. I remember 2 years ago when he said, we're not a family. We are not a corp. We are a business. We're running it as that. He let it all on the line for all them employees to know who stuck around that, if this thing gets bad, it will end. And them people that continue to work for him and sign up to do this, this is what happens. They should have known this is what you're getting into bed with.
Look, this is an interesting, fascinating conversation, right? Because he's right. And when business is business decisions should be made based off business. But all I'm trying to suggest is if you want to actually have people work for you and want to
you're giving them advice for the future.
If you want to stay working for you, if you want a Christian Harloff who can do it better himself, if you want to be like Screen Junkies who took everything of mine and never owned any of it. It's a huge thing I've learned. What an idiot I was. I gave them so much, and look where the loyalty is, right? It's gone. The company, everybody just said, screw him, you don't need it. Regardless of what I did, it doesn't matter. There's so much they owe me from a respect standpoint that they're still doing that it's like, it is what it is. But my point is like, you got to, if you want someone to do that, it's got to be we. It's got to feel like a company where everyone feels involved.
I agree 100%.
They did. And they feel like they can do it without me because I learned my own person. I got it from a lot of really good, valuable people who taught me. When I let the reins off of a creation like Honest Trailers and finally had other people do it, beyond me. When I could finally say, look, when you could take your baby, something you create, and you can let other people make it, that's the key to real success. I've been taught that by so many people because then you can move on to the next one, right? And then you're not so I got to still do this 2 years in the making. No, when you can make a creation and you're so good at it, and then you can teach someone else how to make the creation and then walk away to make another creation. I've always been taught that's the key to the business, right? And so that's the key. It's got to become a team player. It's got to become a we. It's become us. And I think that's where Collider just clearly downfalled because I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm just speculating. I don't know the guy, but it sounds like he walked in and started turning it like a business. And yes, you can do that to set the tone. But to me, that was probably the beginning of the end for why Collider fell because it wasn't family anymore. And you can't build a brand like Collider and not have it feel like family because what's the point otherwise? Why am I subscribing to it? You know what I mean? And so all these people coming in and leaving and going because they clearly felt like, well, the shoe's going to drop at some point. I got to get out of here. And that's the problem. So I just, that's the insight I see of, I wish I had done that more. Now that he's made a big mistake. I do appreciate the fact that he ate some humble pie near the end of the stream. I want to give him credit. He did finally acknowledge and say, look, it's on me. If you have these problems, I made those decisions. They're on me. And that was the right thing to do. So I do applaud him there. And I think that was helpful, but and he did compliment a lot of his fans. He spent the whole stream really complimenting it, people. But I think the vibe of community, the vibe of us is to me what I'm trying to get at look, he can buy everything he wants, but that doesn't mean the fans want to subscribe to it. Right. It doesn't mean they're going to continue to do it. And I think that's what I'm trying to say is like,
the key. When you say family and all that, I get it. That is dope. I build my Jody's Corner as a family, as a community. My subscribers are like family. I treat them as such. Collider ain't that. Screen Junkies ain't that. They never were that. The reason why Collider failed, in my opinion, is because they weren't about that real. Is that they were about PC culture, riding waves, riding trends. No one argued, no one debated, wasn't organic, didn't have real arguments, didn't have real discussions. No one wanted to step on each other's toes. It was the most basic. Collider and even Screen Junkies now is like unbuttered, burnt toast. You get up in the morning, you could use it, but god dang it, I need some bacon and eggs, man. And you ain't getting bacon and eggs off of that bland, boring, PC bullshit culture content that they were delivering. They were being professionals about it, and they didn't have that much passion. And at the end of the day, they were hiring a lot of dweebs with no personality and no type of charisma to them at all. When you build a brand just hiring, and there's nothing wrong with it because I'm a nerd too, but god dang it, if you selling something on camera, you need a little bit more than nerddom. You need knowledge, you need charisma, you need, look at Mark, the guy owns the Collider brand, and he's sitting there like a silverback gorilla, hunched over, can't even look at the camera, because even though I didn't even know he went to NYU and got a film degree, my God, bro, like, you should have been making films with an NYU degree, but here he is right here with his back slunched over with Collider going down the tanker. I mean, it's crazy, man. Like, at the end of the day, you did not put the right people behind this microphone in front of the camera to make. At the end of the day, we ain't dumb. You could only push that PC bullshit for so long to where the point where people grow up and they be like, this Collider sheet is fraudulent. It's the same. They're always safe on their opinions. They're always pushing this female agenda. They're always pushing this SJW sheet. They're always pushing this woke, this. I'm tired of this. I'm not going, this is stale. They will always see through the bullshit. It might take some time. It might take a year, 2, 3, 4, but eventually people got wise to the BS content that Collider was producing, and they lost interest. At the end of the day, they didn't have the right people to put, and you could have ran it like a business. You could have said, F family, y'all better make sure that y'all get these ratings up with this fire content. Yes, boss. And they just go to war every week with an amazing organic show with great debates and jokes and amazing fun. And we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. At the end of the day, it was stale and the content dried up, in my opinion. I could be way off.
Pick up your phone and the vibrations killing everybody.
Sorry.
But hey, look, I'll be honest. I didn't watch a lot of Collider, especially in the last few years. So I'll take your word for it. I don't know for how it's been. I've seen it at times. But what I know is they had and I've said this before, they had their leads, and then they had a bunch of supporting players, and then they never cast new leads. They kept sort of upgrading the supporting players into the front. And that's not a knock on those guys. I'm not going to name names. I don't want to just call out because I don't want to just get that heavy in the drama. You can say whatever you want, Jody, but I'm not going to call them out specifically. But I will say from a broad standpoint, I think a lot of people who were left, they weren't, head anchors. And so that's they weren't
the A team, so to speak.
Yeah. They weren't Colbert. They weren't Kimmel, right? They were, the side characters. And so I think, no disrespect, but it's like they were good as sort of yes people to sort of be there and do it. So then once they were gone, well, what do you expect is going to happen? And I like you said in the beginning, I think I give Mark props because he admitted near the end of this, if you didn't watch it all, we're trying to sum it up for you. At the end, he did really admit, he's like, look, why would I do this when I'm just competing with John Campea, who created the format? Why would I do this when now Christian's doing SEN and he's doing it better than we're doing it? Yeah. That was the most realist thing he said. And I wish he sort of had started with that. And then I think he should have said, if we're giving PR school, it's like, look, I'm sorry I didn't give notice. I realize now, yes, while I didn't have to, it's a business standpoint, I should have out of respect to that talent. Clearly they are important to me. Here's why, blah, blah, blah. But it all comes disingenuous when he could have done that when he canceled it. Instead, he sort of gave them no notice. Roxy, all those people went public admitting their frustration by not knowing a thing. And then suddenly he's going to give this hour-long love fest, great his talent is. He only did it because he had to, right? The pressure made him do it. So I don't know. That's where my problem with him is. Bro. Like
looking back on that at will thing about after Christmas.
We should find that point.
That's tough.
It was like 21.
I can't defend that.
Let's talk about it because I wrote a note about that. Someone asked him flat out, why didn't you give notice? And he says, well, when you're at an at-will employee, you don't get notice. I wanted to give the folk, so it was like this weird, stupid business choice he was saying out loud that it's like, don't say that out loud when you're trying to do PR and like save your face. Like no one cares about what at-will employment, it's called common decency. It's like, and what's frustrating is he then admitted, he said, I wanted the folks to get through the Christmas holidays. When he said that, well, that means you knew before the Christmas holidays. You didn't decide it in January then. You are admitting you knew. And then you decided not to tell them and had them go through their holidays, spend money on gifts or whatever the hell they're doing, think they had a job. And then when they got back from the holidays, oh, sorry, yep, it's not working. He clearly knew.
Can I keep it 100, man? Like I think he doesn't like. I think he's pissed. I think he's mad At Harloff, I think he's mad at Camp. I think he's mad at every single last one of them, but he can't say it. I feel like he's stuck between like a rock and a hard place, because at the end of the day, he knows that he's going to have a struggle moving forward.
Right.
And he knows he put all of his ducks in one basket. Now the basket seems to be empty. I feel like who was the guy's name that made that tweet at Knapsack? What was his name? Jack
Hind. Yeah.
Jack Hind. He says, I'm going to reprimand him off camera. It's none of your business. There's some part of me that feels like Jack Hind uttered the personal words that Mark was telling him in private conversation and let the whole world know.
You are spot on. Jack Hind, I don't believe for a second would have risked and done all that if he hadn't heard it somewhere else. And that is, again, speculation all you want, but it was absolutely probably something that he was trying to make Mark feel better. They were probably bitching behind the scenes. And you can tell by the way Mark kept saying, my studio, you can come. There were a couple even moments where he said, this costs a lot of money. They want to be thanked for everything they did. And now, look, that's a complicated thing, too, if we're really being real about it. You can, if I look from his perspective, I've been there. There was a show on Screen Junkies Plus with a very popular personality. I won't name him, but he was a very polarizing figure. His show was too expensive, and no one was watching it. And I tried my damnedest to still keep it going and figure out a way to work with it. And I did everything I could, and he just got so upset when it was fired. But my point is, like, I know what it's like when you have to empty a show, and I always felt like, well, dude, I've been doing the show for you to no viewers just out of respect to keep you in the family, because I do respect you. And so I can totally relate to where he's coming from, where he feels like, guys, I've been paying this for 2 years with no views, and now I don't get any thank yous. Screw you. So I see where he's coming from, but I also understand why that's not the way to think, because he should be thanking them. He should be thanking the fans who have been watching and building the brand. And I want to say, actually, to that, because I had a friend, and I'm sorry I want to put it on the screen. I got to call out my friend Chris Zimmerman, who put together these slides. If you actually go through, and I wish I had him here. I'm sorry. I'll try and post them on Twitter or something later. But if you go through there's a term. I don't even know if you know this, Jody, but there's a term called viral. It's not even viral. It's called, sorry, here it is. It's called the velocity of views with the highest velocity. And so it's this, what that means is sort of the amount of views it gets per hour to sort of show its chance of virality. Mm-hmm. And if you look at their top 12 videos, they had videos from 3 years ago that had their virality, that's not a good thing to have old videos do it, which was like Schmoedowns, as well as some other top 10s and stuff along. My point is, like, they clearly were starting to create traction. If you know the way video stuff works, this was a guy who's YouTube certified. I had him go through the channel breakdown to really help me. And I might do a separate video on that. My point I'm getting at is, like, if you really go through the analytics, you can see there was stuff building. It was building a brand. It was starting to take off. And you can also tell that they weren't putting they removed tags from canceled shows. They disabled end screens, which is such a dumb move to do. If you're a YouTube creator, always activate your end screen, because it's another way to get the related video quicker. My point is, they disabled comments for most recent uploads. They were doing a lot of just really dumb stuff down the line that just shows they don't really know what they're doing. And he sort of admitted it by saying Christian knew it better, John knew it better. And so that was a just eye-opening thing to sort of see, like, I don't think they do know what they're doing. And he sort of is admitting that. But the point being, sorry, I went off on a tangent there. My point being, like, him sort of being frustrated, like, look, we paid for it and we did it all. He doesn't understand the analytics enough to really understand, like, he paid for something that was starting to work and building a brand and a loyalty and people who were coming in, a family that he just didn't see as worthy. And that's fair to see at a certain point when you see deepfakes getting 1 million views, which brings in a lot more revenue than the sort of 45,000 views that the chats are bringing. So it's a very complicated story of whether it was working or not. All of that aside, breaking down whether Collider was working, what the problems were, we do have to be honest. A lot of the Collider fans, you weren't watching recently. You stopped watching, and that's why this happened. If you guys had started watching more and sharing it and doing it bigger, he wouldn't have had a reason to cancel it. So that's one thing we sort of have to all admit.
And that leads to the content platform, where people were getting tired of the same old stuff that they were spewing out over the years. That's just my take on it. I eventually got stale. At the end of the day, I do not believe that Harloff would have stuck around if it was. He left for a reason. Harloff knew that shit was sinking. He got up out of there, bro. He saw this thing coming.
I don't know if it's true, but there were rumors that he didn't leave on his own accord. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and that might have made sense.
Well, Mark is his dude, and he's still saying that they're boys and stuff. I don't think that that's the case. I think that he saw this thing was ending, and he said, "Let me get on up out of here," because he saw the ratings were even with Harloff there, and he was doing the Collider live with the Riley and the Roxy girl. The views wasn't great. It was still lingering and tinkering on catastrophe, and he's
but if we're keeping it 100, and again I'm speculating, I don't know, and but Christian and Mark seem like they are tight, and Christian's a guy who doesn't want to piss anybody off. He tries to play everybody the same way, and that's I think a smart move he does to stay successful. But there's no way you don't say Mark and Christian weren't talking and saying, look, Christian, I can't afford you anymore, it's not working, and Christian realizing, well, I'm just going to do it myself, and them sort of having a shake and say fine.
I don't think it had nothing to do with the way he was running that company with old boy, that producer coming and disrespecting him live on air like that. I made that video right after that happened, bruh. I said, you got this cuck boy coming in here while I'm live, teasing me. Oh, I'm so sorry you didn't get to do Star Wars. You disrespected my manhood on live? Oh, nah, bruh. I'm out of there. He didn't know his job title at a certain point. That's why he got up out of there, I think, because that would have made me leave.
See, I loved that clip, and I loved Christian in that clip. I have Christian's back. Christian was spot on in that clip because Disney
like
and I think he blew up, and I think he had every right to blow up. So I think people who are busting on him were being unfair because he's right. He's been doing everything he can to try and plug Star Wars and get in there with Disney, and he got a lot of views, and he became a respected Star Wars person. Like, they did owe him more than they gave him. So I totally, and I know I don't want to get too much drama in the Disney stuff, but I know there was some shady stuff going on that end. And then my point being, that guy though who's blowing off, it was very interesting to me because Christian is a huge Howard Stern fan, right? Mm-hmm. And that whole scene played like a Howard Stern. If you guys watch Howard Stern, it's like Gary coming in or JD coming in and yelling at Howard or whatever. It's like was the vibe that Christian was sort of creating, was that anybody can sort of say whatever, let's keep it wild. And I love that about the show. So part of me always thought that was on purpose. Like, because it's like Christian's two favorite things are Stern and wrestling, right? And that was just such a like, are we going to do this on air? Yeah, because that's what people want. That's how you get better ratings. You blow it up. That's what Schmodown turned into, right? So I don't know. Part of me always wondered, was that on purpose? Was Christian sort of creating that vibe? If not, you're right. If not, and that producer was real, he absolutely stepped out of line, and it was questionable. But my only critique to that was that's on Christian, because Christian created that world. He wanted to be Stern. He wanted to be wrestling. And so it sort of blew up in his face if it wasn't real. But that's what happens when you give your producer a mic in the booth and tell him you can interrupt the show, you know? But I do think people gave him a bad rap. So there was a couple of super chats. Myra Martin, thank you for that. As we wrap this up, if you guys got questions, send them in there because you guys are texting a lot. And thank you so much for all of you that are watching. Sorry for the technical favors, but give us if you can go give the video a like if you like what we're doing, and being honest here. Give the video a like to sort of help its engagement so we can get this out there. But Myra Martin, thank you for the comment. Jeff Nung, Collider equals clickbait, enough said. Do you feel like that was the case, Jody? Do you feel like, you said obviously they were not doing any debates, but do you think it just became a clickbait shill fest like a lot of people are sort of claiming?
It was definitely that. It was a lot of that, but it was if you're going to clickbait and if you're going to be shilly, at least do it with personality. At least be entertaining. It was the same dry, stale stuff there. I couldn't watch it. And a lot of the viewers on the last video that I was on said, Jody, you clear you don't watch Collider. Yeah, motherfucker, I don't watch Collider. It's a reason for that. That's why we in this predicament that we're in now. That's the problem. I don't to keep up with it. I know when I glance every now and then, it's the same old shit. I used to watch Collider back in when I first started my YouTube channel back in 2016, because other people said watch Collider. I watched it, gave it about a week, 2 weeks. Nah, this ain't for me, Jack. This shit ain't real. I'm good. And then a little here and there, me and Harloff, doing my videos and stuff like that. He was like, yo, I respect your view on movies and stuff. He invited me to do the Heroes, and I did the Heroes thing because I F with Shep and Harloff. But that's that. At the end of the day, man, you've got to be engaging and interesting if you're going to sit behind this camera. If you are not entertaining and you're being Buzz Killington, you're going to get Buzz Killington outcomes. You're going to get the classic, That's what you're gonna do to people, and that's what Collider was. It was a whole bunch of God. I remember them doing reviews and talking about movie news, and they would come up with the most astronomical, insane reasons why a movie flopped, rather than the most obvious one. How about that director was trash? How about that shouldn't have been made in the first place? You gonna make some shit about Charlie's Angels? Oh, I don't know why this didn't work. What you mean you don't know why it didn't work? You know why it didn't work. You just can't talk about why it didn't work because the agenda, the movement that you guys are on, is female everything, and he's pushing an all female show. When I heard that, I almost threw up. What's it called?
Well,
Ladies' Night or some shit?
It's with Perry. She's a lady. I don't have a problem with that.
Who else?
I don't know, but it's her and other. I think it was female filmmakers. They said so. It was like Perry interviewing other filmmakers.
He says it's been a show that's been out already. I haven't even seen this show.
I haven't seen it. Look, I mean that everything they're doing with the awards, that's all to get celebrities in the house to do stuff. The thing you got to remember is Collider is a really working website. They break exclusives, talent, and agents like working with them. Collider Video never achieved the level of credibility that the Collider website had. They were sort of eating off each other, and that was what was interesting. And I didn't realize that Mark also now owns the website and bought it from Steve Weintraub, aka Frosty. But that website is valuable. That website and Steve's contacts. Right. Valuable. And so I understand why they'd want to lean that way. Some people, when I comment on this last time, they're like, well, Frosty doesn't have any, and doesn't know how to do content. He's boring and he's a shill. Whatever you think of Frosty, he gets in the room with these people and has interesting conversations and tries to break exclusives. That's his job. And he's been doing it better than most people in this world. He's kept it going for a long time. So I do have to show that respect to him. But it's like, you got to figure out how to monetize that is what it all comes down to. And you can sell videos with Quentin Tarantino and Leonardo DiCaprio for your consideration. You can sell to Target or people like, hey, want to sponsor this for your consideration video next year? Look who we got last year. The brands eat that up because it's usually somebody who just wants to check off a box and show their boss, oh, look, we got this Tarantino video where it mentions Target. That's literally how the web actually works. That's where the money really comes from, if we're being fully honest. So I see the value in why they're going there. Again, the biggest problem was the fact that they didn't give the fans more notice. They didn't give the hosts more notice. And I want to get to this sort of issue because someone just called out, isn't this video clickbait? Andy calls it Collider CEO's non-apology live reaction. No, it's not clickbait because that's what we're talking about. What do we need to talk about? What
dunce
clickbait?
Cap. Where's your dunce cap at, bruh? Sit down somewhere.
How is that clickbait? We're literally about to talk about it, and I was literally about to get it. So thank you for the nice get to it. I don't think he should have. I think he should have apologized, and I didn't hear him say the word sorry once. And I think he owed the fans an apology just from what Jack Hind, whatever his name is, just from what he said, and the lack of respect to his sort of audience members and his staff. He owed an apology. I don't think you need to go on an apology tour, and I understand why he wants to be confident and sort of look towards the future and move on. Absolutely. But he should have said a clear, look, I'm sorry about the way things went down. I probably should have handled them better. He didn't really do that, and I think that was a frustrating thing for me. Just own it. You got to take accountability. You got to own it, and then you can move forward. But I think until then, people are always going to look and say, screw you. Now, the argument is, well, he's going to say it, and then not everyone will hear it, and then they'll keep asking for it, and should he keep saying it? But do you disagree, Jody? Shouldn't he just said it at least once at the top to get it out of the air to say he did it, or do you disagree?
I don't remember him apologizing or not, but I'll take your word for it that he didn't. If he didn't, then, honestly, I'm on the other end of this. You don't have to apologize for shit, because at the end of the day, he told them, I am a lion. I will eat you if I get hungry. Do you want to jump on board with me or not? They stayed on board. He ate them. I just can't waver on this, man. Like, do you blame a tiger for eating a baby who jumps over the cage, goes into the tiger den and pokes him with a stick, and you put the tiger down? A tiger gonna be a tiger. He is an entrepreneur. Went to NYU, started this Collider sheet, told them to their face, y'all ain't no family to me. You guys are employees. If we don't perform, this will close. Someone go look the video up where I think it was the last state of the I think he called it a town hall as well, where he had all of them behind him, and he looked at all of them and says, "Yo, if we're gonna be successful in this next phase, we need to produce. We're a business."
He did that live on air?
Yes, he said this is not a family. He says this is a business. If we do not make it happen, this will close. He told them, and they still, let's do it. And then it happened. I
gotta watch that video.
He gave them warning. The real ones would have been like, all right, I'm gonna stick around here for maybe a couple of months. I'm gonna start putting resumes and try doing my own channel a little bit. They should have put their eggs in a basket somewhere else. You know, when your girlfriend finally leaves you, it's because she's been already going on dates with another dude. She just don't leave you upright and just be. She's already been planting seeds and sheep. By the time she leaves, she already got another home somewhere else. That's what they should have done.
Get the next job. Exactly.
That's what they should have been doing when he sat there and told them, "Y'all don't mean shit to me," because that's how I took it. When he sat up there and said that, he said, "Oh, he don't give a freak about them." And then I went and I watched some Simpsons or something. But that's what I took away from that video. I said, "Oh, he don't give a freak about them. It's gonna be problems." And here we are. Problems.
We are here with problems. Look, I don't want to keep calling. I'll agree with you on this. I think the talent got stale. I think they got complacent. I think they just didn't know what to do, and that's what happens when a lion's in charge, right? And if you want to be a lion, great. You are correct in that. If you want to have fear from your employees, if you want to be the boss and you want to make it clear, like the buck stops here, that's a way you can do it, right? There's certain leaders who do it that way. I don't think it was successful because that's clearly people were leaving. Christian left. The views went down. It didn't work, in my opinion. That's not the best way to run the business. If you can run the business, it's different if you have success, right? If Mark was a creative that was figuring out the things that were working, right? And then it's like I usually always respect someone who is actually doing the job right? When it's like then that's where it seemed to me, for the feedback I got, is like people respected me because I had hits under my belt. I was creating shows that worked. And so then people would follow me and he'd deal with some of my jerkness because, well, Andy at least knows what he's doing.
Right.
So that's the problem of like, I don't know enough about what actually Mark was creating. It doesn't seem like a lot. It seems like he had a lot of, according from his own words, he gives all the respect and creations to everybody else. So I think it's hard to be a lion when you're not even bringing anything to the table aside from money. And it's like, yes, the money is important, and yes, you got to be grateful for the money, and it sounds like they all were, but you got to steer the ship. And just blaming them and saying it's not working is, well, what are you doing, dude? If you're just giving us the money, then hire someone who can steer this ship the right way. You know what I mean? Like hire a new creative director who knows how to work YouTube and put freaking end videos on to sort of make.
He had people in place. He had Harloff was like a boss on there, and he had that dude that he was arguing with was a boss on there. Mark wasn't running day to day over there. He don't give a freak. He was probably chilling in a Bahamas somewhere while they was running that show. And I don't know. He put the people in place to run that thing, and it just, that's why I always am going to come back to this. I don't believe if Ellis, if Campia, and if Harloff was still there, that this thing still would not have died this year. I don't know that for a fact, and it's easy to say because Harloff left, Ellis left, John Campia left, but why? Ask yourself this question: why did they leave? Why did Ellis leave? Walk away from the Schmozno, from the Collider, from hosting, from all of that to do, I think, comedy or whatever he's doing. Why did Campia leave after coming back and leaving again? Why did Harloff leave? I think they saw the writing on the wall and nothing could have stopped it, bro. That's what I honestly think, man. I think that it was slowly declining and nothing was going to stop that thing. Campia, Harloff, or Ellis included, they just didn't want to be there. The views probably was tanking. The camaraderie probably wasn't working. They probably was beefing. Whoever knows, they got up out of there for a reason.
Well, that egos take over all these channels, right? Because look, Christian can do it better himself. We were talking on the last stream. Dan should do it himself over on Screen Junkies, right? There are just certain people. Jeremy Johns is killing it. Chris Stuckman, they're killing it themselves. Even Beyond the Trailer, Grace Randolph. Look, respect Campia. Respect to all of them for having the hustle and figuring out how to do it themselves. So you don't have to have a lion boss who's just killing you every time, because it's got to be tough for someone like Christian, who is a really brilliant content creator. I got to give him respect. He does know how to play the game and build the contacts and make a channel. He is one of those people that is worthy of his own place. And so it's hard when you are a Marc Fernandez and you have all these people and they're all realizing, well, why am I here when I could do it myself? right? And that's that. It just full circle coming back to why saying my isn't the way you heard creators. Because if Marc Fernandez, who's not, sorry, he's not really a creative, is then telling all the creatives, my, hey, you got to pay to be here. Oh, no, fine, you can use it on my studio. It's like that sort of favor you don't want to actually take, because then you never know what he's going to make you do because, oh, now you owe me a ride to the airport. Whatever the reason is, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's clearly there's strings attached in some way. And that's my point of, like, if you want to create an environment in a family like Collider, which it was, and he clearly didn't want it to be, you got to you got to take the ego out of it, and you got to have some sort of camaraderie of we're going down together because we believe in each other, or you're not bringing your weight, and you do that privately. You know what I mean? So that to me seems like the writing on the wall is what happened. It was the leadership wasn't really was aggressive. If he's really doing videos like you said, Jody, where he's calling people out live on saying if this doesn't work, we're dead. That's one way to do it, but it's not. I don't think that's going to build them being like brand loyalty. Be like, yeah, you know what, Mark, I'm going to step up and do this when they could go do it themselves, right?
You're right. That's what I was telling Harlow, bro. I said, bro, you better do it on your own, man. You could do it. Trust me, you could do it. And then like a month later, he did it. Now, Jody Domus. But I think Perry and Scott Mance and whoever's left, what was his name? Is his name Coy? They need to be looking at this as well. Like, even y'all job ain't safe. They need to be looking at other stuff too. Because he could turn around, as sporadic as the business world is, he might be like, you know what? That was terrible, that interview I just did with the state of the whatever. I need to jump ship. I need to sell this thing. He could be selling this next week. This could be gone next month. And then what? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they need to be wary of what the Ides of March have to say.
Yeah, no, I agree. But again, if he wanted to keep this brand, he needed to hire new talent. He clearly didn't have the money to do it. But because they have money, they're clearly investing in other shows. He just didn't believe in the format. He admitted in the video, as we're talking about, this is what this whole reaction to. He sort of said at the end, what makes a success? Somebody asked him, right? And he said, make more than you spend. That's how he classifies it. That's hard to do online. But he said success to him was when the videos, things that they were making could be a marketing tool or community or brand building. And then he sort of realized as he said it, well, yeah, and I guess I'm going to have to rebuild a lot of that. And so that's where the whole thing just doesn't make sense. I'll be honest. I do think he was betting a lot on deep fakes, and then he saw the feedback and realized, well, crap, I guess I shouldn't bet the farm on deep fakes. But look, if you're going to cancel all those shows, that's his business, right? But I think we're beating that dead horse now, and he's sort of admitting it. He did not do a good job in how he ended it. He should have done a finale stream. When somebody asked why didn't he do it, he said, I didn't want a million goodbyes. I don't like prolonged goodbyes. I wanted to move on. Having those long goodbyes is so painful, and I just wanted to rip off the Band-Aid. So, I mean, he admitted, I got to applaud him for admitting it was his decision. He did it, but what you did was worse. And that's why he had to do this live stream, and that's why he's had to acknowledge this.
So what does he do? How does he fix it? What is the trajectory in the future? What should he do now?
Well, I think he did the right step by trying to address the fans. I don't think on camera, and that's not his forte. It probably would have been better to bring those people on. He should have just paid Riley and Roxy and Roca, or even Christian, and say, look, guys, I want to apologize to you in person. Can we do a stream together? And make it sort of a finale stream, or even say, and maybe even before he did it, he should have had a plan where he should have had Jack say something publicly. If he's going to keep him, he has to, or the fans are never going to trust him unless he's saying he deleted his Twitter. It worked for me, but I don't know if he deleted. I know it went private, or he might have deleted it. But you got the biggest problem with the fans right now is Jack. Everyone's going to move on, and no one's going to care in a month. But my point is, right now, to move on, you got to get Jack to say something, and then you can come forward and say, "Look, we had Jack apologize. I'm glad he did. I don't know what we're going to do with Jack, but he's on it. You know, we're going to watch him closely and make sure, you know, he doesn't make any comments like that again. He's been a very loyal worker for us. He made a mistake. He's apologized to me. That's how you do it, right? And then suddenly it feels like, okay, fine. But none of that happened. And so that's the problem. Is I feel like the big question to me is, did this, what I want to end on, and I want your thoughts, and if you have any other comments, send them in very quick before we wrap up. But my big question to you and sort of the commenters, do you feel like this did more harm or more good? Was this ultimately better for the brand the way he did it, or did it just leave more questions and make you ask more questions?
This is definitely much more harm than it was good, in my opinion, because like I said, an hour and a half or however long this interview was, and I felt like you barely said anything. Only that last 10 minutes was like, I guess, something. I feel like it was tacky, bad optics, bad business, a bad look. He looked like a white Suge Knight up there, to be honest with you, man, trying to keep everything together. It just didn't look good to me. I feel like it's an L, but I feel like he was forced and highly compelled to do it, because if it was me and I would just be like, cut that off, let it be, I would have handled it differently. But from this point on, I would just let that go and build up a new brand. I would refresh, probably change the name. What I would have done, what I would still do if you're listening, Mark, is the reason why a lot of people didn't come to Collider and you didn't have a lot of great talent that had the charisma to make a great show, is because you didn't leave it open for people to just come up to your doors and be on your show. You know what I'm saying? You had the same type of people on your show with the same type of viewpoint. Even though the viewpoints were a little different, it was still that same type of brand. I think you should open, and he mentioned it too. He says, if you guys know anybody who wants to come and use my studio, go ahead and let me know and email me. Bruh, do you really mean that, Mark? You really gonna take Mr. 15,000 subscribers YouTube channel who wants to come over there and use your studio? Bullshit. I don't believe that for a second. But you said it. So I'll have my eye on you to see if you have more collaborations with smaller channels and getting some real talent in there. I feel like Collider was a bubble and they were just out of touch with reality. You need to go back to the streets and get some of these hungry people out there who know just as much movies as the panel on Collider, who are just as passionate, if not more, and have charisma. But you never gave them opportunity and then opened doors for them. Now you said you're willing to do it. Let's see what the next few months looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. He had 4 seats there. He could have easily put some in. But at the same time, I can understand why that didn't happen as often. When I did Screen Junkies and we had Screen Junkies News, I didn't want to just keep inviting random people over and over again, because you want to build a rapport with a foursome or threesome, right? You want to have some people you're coming back to. But I do think you're right. I mean, we had movie fights where we had guests, and we always sort of picked highbrow people.
You could have made a low-tier subsidiary show on the lower end, like the juniors to the seniors.
Yeah, he's right. But you're right. And I'm doing it now because I realize, not just because I have to, but because there are a lot of people out there who don't have a voice, and they should get bigger voices. We got to help each other in this community. But yeah, they could have done more. They could have, and it became a lot of the same, very incestuous. Like, I just remember when I did it, whenever I found someone, they always happened to pop up on Schmodown or something else pretty quickly. Sort of is how it all worked. And then when I saw someone good Christian found, or I would just call and say, who do you got? He got me Roca. Like, Roca came on Movie Fights and it was really, he did a podcast. He didn't really do much at all. And because of Christian's recommendation, I gave Roca a shot. So it did, we did it a lot. Christian and I back and forth, but I didn't see Collider. You're right. I didn't see Collider offering a lot of newbies coming on, but I do think you need to have your leads. There was a point there where they brought in Jeremy Johns, and they had Jeremy, they had Schnepp, they had Christian, they had Mark. Like, that was I remember I was working Screen Junkies and I was like, damn, that's a good lineup. I'm getting worried. So it's like, that's how you do it. And that's what it worked, right? For a time period, because they brought in people who knew and who could deliver views on top of it. So that's where he could have won. He could have turned Collider, Movie Talk, all that stuff into hits if he had invested a little bit of money, figured out some talent that was underdeveloped, and said, look, let's do it together. People want to host stuff. People want a constant paycheck, but it's clear he wasn't making enough money. He sort of admitted that. They didn't know how to do the business end. He said that. They weren't getting enough brand deals, clearly, and other things that were paying the bills to keep that show going. And I got to be honest, fine. I respect he's got to make that decision. It sucks, but it is what it is. But guys, anybody watching this, PR lessons moving forward, you got to be more straight with your crew, and you got to, the ones who've especially been there, you can't just tell them overnight. Unless you really find out, like, Defy Media literally apparently found overnight and shut down because they had to. That's a different story. But he just admitted he knew for a month, and he decided to let them not know through Christmas. I mean, that's shady, don't you think?
It's definitely shady. But can I take this moment to flame somebody in the chat real quick, please? Just 60 seconds of your time. Zippy Mistletoe. Jody tries too hard. Mother fricker, you don't know me. This is the passion that fuels the channel. Go to my channel, see what I'm about, come back and apologize. Until then, shut the freak up. because this is what I'm about. You're used to that boring bullshit Collider shit, and that's what I'm talking about. Your brain is programmed to like dull personalities, and when you finally get somebody who speaks the real in your ear hole, you think it's overreacting and it's doing too much. This is what I do. Welcome to Jody's Corner on Andy Signor's Popcorn Planet, bruh. Go to my channel, check my back catalog. This is just what it is. You call it doing too much, I call it passion. And the lack of passion is exactly why we're having this discussion about the death of Collider as we know it.
Yeah, to echo you and to give you props, that you're right, because Jody, I wanted one Jody over 20 of those boring Collider hosts any day of the week, because he's got guts. He's got guts to say what he wants, and I do too. That's why we connect, and I like it, because we'll say whatever the hell. It's going to get us both in trouble at some
Yin
point.
and Yang is going to be fire.
But I'm telling you guys, stay tuned. And I'm excited to do the show next week with Jody with working computers, where we're not going to talk about Collider. Hopefully, we're going to talk about something else. We're going to bring this passionate topics every week, he and I, here, and do our own little personal nerd war, him versus me. So stay tuned. If you haven't already, subscribe right here to Popcorn Planet, or you could become a member for some other exclusive streams and stuff you're not going to miss. And that supports the channel, lets me buy a better computer, which I clearly can't afford, but I need to figure out a way to do. And then you got to go subscribe to Jody's Corner over there, which will be in the description, because he does bring it all the time. So I agree with you. Look, Zippy, sorry it's not your forte, but I'm not going to apologize for Jody. I want him to do that every day. If you don't
come over to my channel with that shit, Zippy, and see what happens to you. You're going to get flamed over there too. Come every week. I got more for you.
Yeah, bring it. But I got to give Jonathan, last super chats that came in and comments, questions. Thank you, guys. Jonathan Cortez, you're the man, Jody. Your response to the prod was epic.
Thanks,
prod?
man.
Production? Product? What is the prod?
I think production.
All right. Anyway, he loved it. So thank you for that. And then Bunda, Jordy is the Stephen A. Smith of YouTube. Jody, did he mean Jody?
I think he meant Jody.
I don't know.
There's no R there. Stephen A. Smith, he's a YouTube analyst on ESPN. ESPN analyst, the shit.
Yeah, I don't do sports. That's another thing I think that
Yin and Yang is going to be the ESPN of YouTube. I'm telling you, watch.
Morsel Media, you going to buy me a plug? Okay, DM me. Send me a Twitter. Morsel Media says, if you plug my channel, I'll build you a PC. Dude, call me up.
There it is.
Give you the biggest plug in the world if anybody wants to help me get a better computer. Dude, send it over. You got my Twitter at Andy Signor. No joke, I need a better computer. My computer's okay. I don't know what the heck's going on, but yeah, if anybody knows or has one to help, do it. All right, but then wrapping things up, because I know we did this late. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but I wanted this was passionate. 13, thank you so much. There's a lot of people watching today.
Yep.
Again, please, if you're watching right now, there's so many of you, more than there are likes. Let's fix that. Go like this video. This look better next time. I wanted to give you something raw because it's Tuesday and we were hot off this topic and we messed up our first stream, but we fixed it. So thank you, Jody, for fixing that. And let's make sure we do this next week, right, Jody? We're doing this next week. Am I right?
Next week, yes, it's going to go down. It's going to be my and your channel for Wednesdays and my and your collaboration on your channel on Tuesdays, right?
Yep. So Tuesday we'll be doing a similar. It's going to be Nerd Wars, a spinoff of Nerd Wars, which is Jody and I spitball on news and have a little mini fight, as well as take your comments, and we just rip out on all the news headlines. And then Wednesday I'll be on your channel doing Yin and Yang. Want to tell them what it's about?
Yin and Yang. Andy Signor, Jody on Jody's Corner. It's going to be a one-on-one debate type of show where one person takes on Yin, one person takes the Yang. Whatever the topic, somebody who's Yin has to agree with it and argue that. Whoever's Yang has to look at it from the negative side. It's going to be fun watching Andy have to talk about something he clearly don't believe in, or watching me have to roast something that I love. It's going to be a fun and amazing show. Yin and Yang's coming next week, next Wednesday. It's going to be.
We had to do a version of that on Movie Fights for those who remember the Devil's Advocate way back, but this is a much fresher, funner way to do it. So I'm excited to bring that back and do it because it's fun when you're thrown in the mix and you're like, you have to say that Batman v Superman is the best movie of all. No. Jonathan said, so stay tuned for that Wednesday on Jody's Corner. So subscribe here and hit that like button or leave a comment down below. To the producer during Harloff drama. Okay, Jonathan Cortez, thank you. He was talking about the producer. He was giving you props. And then TM. Thank you, TM. TM from TM. Clearwater? You're in Clearwater? Cool. I'm in Tampa. Come to Clearwater. Yeah, we're close, TM. As long as you're not a psycho. Hit me up on Twitter so I can gauge if you're a psycho. Sometimes we do meetups in Tampa. Yeah, anybody in Tampa, Florida. And then James Taylor. He said this twice. Sorry, James.
I saw it, yeah. Marc Fernandez.
Marc Fernandez is the Kathleen Kennedy of Collider. And since he paid for that twice, James, I will say it one more time for you. James Tyler, thank you. James Tyler.
Shout out to you,
I would
James.
think James Taylor, the singer. Marc Fernandez is the Kathleen Kennedy of Collider. You know what? I'll agree, because I don't know how actually much Kathleen Kennedy's done, but it seems like not a lot of good stuff. But I want to have that fight. I want to talk about this new JJ cut. We might talk about that next week, Jody. I want to do this hashtag release the JJ cut, because I'm like, really? Is this really happening? But we're going to get into it. So stay tuned. We got so much fire to bring you.
It's going to be amazing, guys. Subscribe
to both places.
Both channels.
And final thoughts here in Collider. Jody, I want to get them for you, but let me share some of mine. Look, I think ultimately this didn't help the drama. I think it was good for Mark to put himself out there, but I don't think he handled it the best he could. That being said, it sounded like some drama happened during the stream, in which case a friend of his might have passed away, in which case that's awful.
Sorry,
and
brother.
That's not cool at all, obviously. And my thoughts are with you and his family or her family. If that's what's happening, it's none of my business. But I do want to make sure that we respect that, because that's never good. And that is just clearly terrible timing. Murphy's Law, everything going bad to happen during your stream where you got to be on point, and that's what broke him. Then we shouldn't be making fun of that. So everyone be kind in that regard.
Which is why we didn't talk about it as well.
I didn't want to talk about that point because we were gonna, and I was like, well, wait a second. It looked like something really went by. And you should always not react immediately, people. We're so quick to react and tear people down. So I'm glad. It's not what it's about.
I cry a lot on camera, so.
No, I cry in every Pixar movie. Before that happened, though, he opened himself up to criticism when he did this thing, and he's become now the Vase, and he's calling it his channel. It's now his. He's the personality. We got to call it for what it is. And so far, I don't buy it. So far, I need to see more actions, not just talking. And I still would like to see Jackson an apology. He's deleted his Twitter, so I don't know how he's going to do it. But I think we should be able to forgive him if he takes accountability. That's the key here. So my overall, I think Collider still could be handling things better, but I'm moving forward. I don't think there's much. Let's not keep beating this dead horse. Jody, any final thoughts as we wrap this up?
I agree with a lot of what you said. I think that Mark did this mostly for him, so he could move forward and get a lot off of his chest. And he also did it for the people that he probably feel like he wronged. But overall, I believe it was done to save face, to just look a little bit better, have better optics, you know what I'm saying, moving forward. He knew that he had to do this in order to move forward, and I'm glad he did it. He didn't do it in the right way. It didn't look good, but at the end of the day, Mark, I hope you do some of the stuff you said you was going to do. Open your door to other people who grew up in impoverished places, people who don't have the resources, who don't have the technology, who might not even have the friends to talk about films and pop culture. Open your door so they could come up in Collider, and maybe you could make a whole new show with passionate people who will give you their passion. And that's all I'll say about that.
Well said. And then one last comment to read as we wrap up. TM, who is the kid who made short films on SJ? If you're talking about on SJU, the film festival we did, his Twitter is I'm a huge nose. You should go check him out. He was great. He was great. He did a lot of short films. I'd love to see more of his. I got to connect with him again because he was a loyal fan who did these amazing short films in SJU. So that's who that was. But thank you for the support. Hit me up on Twitter and I'll get you. I'll make sure you have the information. Follow me at Andy Signor. Go follow Jody's Corner. Go subscribe to Jody's Corner. You're going to see me there next Wednesday, and you're going to see Jody here next Tuesday. We'll plug it again then. But thank you guys so much for sticking all along with us through that. Sorry we had so much trouble in the beginning. Thank you, Jody, for using your server to help solve this problem. One more. James Tyler, I guess to quote a great film, between putting the red pill or being a cuck, Mark becomes a cuck. Okay. James, you keep me wanting to watch Cuck. Maybe we'll have to do that. There's a movie called Cuck. Jody, we might have to watch it at some point, do a review together. The trailer is pretty insane.
That sounds fire. I'll bring the lotion.
But there we go. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope Collider figures itself out. In the meanwhile, you can go support any of your Collider people you like at their substreams. Go to support like you did here. Anybody you watch, Jody, me, them, always support the creators you watch. Give them likes. Comments, engagement, all that's important. So thank you guys who did it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week, Tuesday, live. I think 9 p.m. we'll be back with the new Nerd Wars, me versus Jody. So soon, check back then. I'm excited for awesome things next week. And Jody, you're the man. Anything else you got?
That's it. Wednesday, 5 to 7 p.m. for the premiere of Yin and Yang. Thanks, guys.
Tuesday, you got me versus Jody. Wednesday, you got Yin and Yang. Thursday, I'll have Nerd Wars. And then Jody's on Mondays and Fridays as well.
Yeah.
Guys, subscribe to both channels. You'll be hearing a lot more of us. We got so much fire. So while Collider Live is gone, don't worry. We got your back. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.